Hello again, my friends. It's me, Len, and today it's story time. Today's story is about something that's very dear to my heart, which is the first car that I ever owned when I was 18 years old, which looked like this. As always, my story will be aided by classic VHS home video clips and photos from the time. So let's get started. So actually, I didn't own this automobile all by myself. It was co-owned between myself and my friend Derek. Now, before I tell you about how the two of us came to own this magnificent beast, I should give you a bit of backstory for context. So let's quickly rewind back to the year 1989. It was 1989 and I was living with my dad in a little rental house in the town of Hadlock, Washington. I was 18 years old and my senior year of high school had just come to an end. Now that my dad's parental obligations were finished, he decided to move to the city so he could be closer to his work. He would also have the rental agreement on the house transferred to my name so I could have some friends move in with me and we would pay the rent. To which I was like, this is so cool. Spoiler alert, this was a super bad idea and things did not end well. When you're done here, go watch this video if you'd like to see what happened. You'll find a link in the description below. As soon as my dad moved out, I had my friend Scott move in. Right around this time, we got a call from our friend Derek who lived in San Diego, California. Like us, his senior year in high school had just come to an end, so he decided to take a road trip up to visit us for a couple of weeks. We all had so much fun hanging out. Derek was like, I'm totally having the time of my life. Fuck college. I want to move in too. Our house was right in the middle of town, and about a half mile or so down the hill from our place was a small bay, generally known as Lower Hadlock, that you could just see from our backyard. There was actually a trail that went from our backyard down to Lower Hadlock, where there was, and still is, at the time of this recording, a restaurant called the Ajax Cafe. This is where Derek and I both worked during that summer. I was a dishwasher and he was bussing tables, though I'm pretty sure he moved up to waiting at one point. So when Derek moved in with us, he had this cool little Volkswagen Scirocco, which for some unknown reason, he decided to trade with someone for this Honda Rebel motorcycle. So this motorcycle is the only form of transportation that we have, and I don't have a license, so we're always riding doubles with me on the back. And this bike is sort of like a wannabe Harley in a way. It is not cool, and we don't look cool at all. As I'm sure you can imagine, we looked like a couple of bozos riding around town on this thing, and we were dissed by motorcycle riders everywhere we went. In fact, once we were even kicked out of a party at gunpoint when the owner of the house, an avid Harley-Davidson rider, discovered we had ridden there on a Honda. He walked us outside with a shotgun to our backs and then told us, "You're welcome to come back when you get a Harley." Also, summer would be ending soon and the rain and cold would be moving in, so it was definitely time for us to get a new form of transportation. Back at the Ajax Cafe where we worked, there was this 16-year-old kid who washed dishes named Jimmy. He was a super nice guy and one of those types of kids that seem way older than their age. So we're shocked to discover that Jimmy is actually homeless, and his whole family is homeless. He lives with his mom, his dad, and I believe he had a brother and a sister, and they lived in 2 automobiles parked right across the street from the Ajax Cafe. Right out the front window was the beach, and this was where their family parked and slept every night. At some point, their luck takes a turn, and the dad gets a job somewhere, I don't know where, but they're going to be leaving town, and things are looking up. They're like getting a house or something like that. So they're going to be leaving, but they've got these 2 vehicles, and they only want to take one. So Jimmy asks us one day at work if we would be interested in buying one of the vehicles. The vehicle that they want to leave behind is a 1970s era AMC Hornet Sportabout wagon. This is basically what the car looked like, but it didn't have the fake wood side panels on it, and it was a hideous 1970s yellow color. So Jimmy asked us if we'd be interested in buying this car, but we're like, oh, it depends how much because we are totally broke. So he talks to his parents, and amazingly, they say they will sell it to us for $60. And we're like, $60? And he was like, yeah, $60. So we each pitch in $30 and we buy this car. This vehicle has no title, the tabs are expired, there's no insurance, it's pretty much completely illegal to drive. But we're super excited about it and we take it home and get it all cleaned up. But we feel like it needs to be customized a little bit to better fit our personalities. At the time, we were kind of obsessed with fluorescent colors. If we didn't buy clothes with fluorescent prints already on them, then we would often paint them ourselves. Most of the rooms in our house had blacklight posters, and we'd paint on furniture, guitars, whatever. So we decided to give our new car the same treatment. So we go to our local hardware store, and this is the spray paint that we buy. The only problem is they have two different colors of fluorescent safety orange, and they don't have enough of either one to cover the whole car. So we decide to buy all of it, and we split the car right down the middle and paint one side one color orange and one side the other color orange. Here's how it looked after we were finished. As a kid, I was somewhat obsessed with Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th horror movie franchise. Not only would I attempt to shoot my own Friday the 13th films with my friends as actors, I would draw and paint Jason or his hockey mask everywhere. So of course, I had to paint a giant hockey mask on the hood of our car. Also, the car didn't have a working stereo system, so we drove around with a battery-powered boombox and we only played 1980s hair metal bands. This thing looked totally obnoxious and stupid driving around, but there was still one more thing that we needed just to take it to the next level, and this was my favorite part of this car. We put in a house phone with the wire running up under the dash to try and trick people into thinking we had a mobile phone. Whenever we were at stoplights or any place that people could see us, we would act like we were talking to someone on it. Usually trying to make it look like we were talking important business, but really we just looked like total jackasses. So now we've got this super illegal car, and I'm driving it sometimes too, and I have no license. It still has expired tabs, no title, we don't have insurance, and we've decorated it so it is the brightest, most obnoxious, and attention-grabbing thing on the road. Also, if you look closely, you will see that we didn't even have a gas cap. We just had a filthy old rag hanging out of the fuel filler neck. It's like we were begging to get pulled over in every possible way, but we never did, not even once. And we drove this thing everywhere, every day on all kinds of adventures, even up into the woods. We were in love with this car. So it's summer and we're starting to get annoyed with working at the Ajax Cafe and just having jobs in general. We just wanted to sleep in late, drive our ridiculous car around, hang out at our house doing stupid stuff, paint on our clothes, and play guitar, so we were like, fuck the Ajax Cafe. And not just fuck that place, but like, we pick our noses at you and stick boogers in your dining room on photos of Clark Gable and the King.
God, just total dicks.
Okay, now we're like, screw that place, we don't need jobs. So it's payday, and we go in and pick up our checks, and we're both scheduled to work that night. Also, our rent is due at our house. So what do? What we do is we don't tell anyone at the Ajax Cafe that we're quitting. We just ditch our scheduled shifts, get in our car, drive to the nearest mall, and blow our entire paychecks on junk food, clothes, and useless, forgettable garbage. The only two things I bought that day that I actually held on to were a way out of my price range TNC surf watch that I did not need, and the album Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich by Warrant on cassette that we played on repeat in our car for weeks. Oh yeah, and we bought a full-grown piranha that we had no idea how to take care of, and it fucking hated us. And speaking of hating us, all of our former co-workers at the Ajax are, understandably, mad at us for walking out, and our roommate Scott is angry because we don't have our rent money. Now around this time, our beloved car starts having mechanical issues. Pretty sure we probably just needed a new battery, but we were mechanical idiots, so we couldn't figure anything out and weren't willing to get under the hood and look anyways. The problem is that our battery keeps dying. So my dad lets us borrow this electric battery charger that we just leave hooked up whenever we're not driving. And when we do drive somewhere and have to park, we either leave the car running while we're gone, because who's gonna steal this thing, or we just disconnect the battery until we come back. Now we're starting to get really paranoid about driving this car, because it's so illegal. We start worrying about getting tickets, because we have no jobs, so we can't pay them. And if it breaks down somewhere, it's not like we can call a tow truck and have them come get it. We're starting to feel like the end of our joyride is looming. So from time to time, Derek and I like to dress up as women, go out in public places, and fuck with people. We literally thought that we could pull one over on people looking like this. And no one's gonna punch a woman, right? So we find out that there's this punk rock show that's going to be happening in the town that's not too far away from where we live. And we decide, let's dress up as women and go to this punk rock show. So we go to a girlfriend's house to borrow clothes and get all dressed up. And here is what we looked like that night. This photo was taken right after we returned home that night, and if you look closely, you can see the stamps on our hands from the show. So we drive into town in this car, looking like this, and we're thinking everything's going to just be cool. Here's what went down. The show is right downtown, and we park in a dark spot around the corner from the venue and disconnect the battery. We climb the stairs in our high heels to the third floor where the show is at and pay our admission. Unfortunately, there isn't a band playing when we walk in, so everyone turns and stares at us. The room is filled with hardcore punks and grungy rocker types, and we immediately realize this wasn't our greatest idea ever. There are chairs along the walls on both sides of the dance floor, and we quickly take seats as far to the back in the darkest spot we can find. Everyone is curious about us at this point, and even the band is staring at us and whispering to each other while they set up. A moment later, I hear a girl across the room say to her friend, "Oh my god, I think that's Len Enders," and I knew the jig was up. No one is saying anything to us yet, but we can literally see the word about us spreading from one person to the next and on down the line like a game of telephone. It's now obvious that we're only here to fuck with people, and we can sense that they're getting agitated, so we quickly come up with a plan to get out. Derek stays seated while I casually walk out the door towards the bathrooms. Then I turn and slowly head down the stairs. A moment later, Derek gets up and follows. Everything seems cool, then suddenly, at the very second we hit the bottom of the staircase, we catch a glimpse of people running from the top of the stairs and hear someone yell, "Get 'em!" We quickly kick off our high heels and run for our lives back to the car, popping the hood, reconnecting the battery, and getting it started in record time. Then, just for fun, we decide to drive past the front of the building, and standing out front is the group of punks that had chased us. They yell obscenities at us from the sidewalk, and we hear a couple of hard objects hit the back of our car as we drive past. And then, while on our way out of town, a police cruiser starts following us, but for whatever reason, didn't pull us over. After this, our paranoia about getting pulled over was just too intense, so we stopped driving the car altogether. And that was to be the final adventure of our beautiful automobile before it was violently laid to rest. So after this, the car just sits parked in our carport in front of our house forever. Like months and months go by, it's not being driven, it's just sitting there slowly rotting. Well, then one day we're talking to this group of neighborhood kids and we tell them, if you bring us $20, you can bring all of your friends and any tools that you want, and you can just smash the shit out of this car. So the next day, all of these kids come to our house, they've got $20 and they've got hammers and crowbars and bats and all kinds of stuff, and they just go crazy on the car, totally annihilate it. This is our car, but it's thrashed now because it was too illegal to drive, and so some little kids paid us to trash it. Isn't it pretty? It's seen such better days. It was such a happy car. Wouldn't you say? Of course you would. I knew you'd agree. It was quite a mobile in its prime. And that is where the car remained until we were evicted from that house. And when we left, we just left the car there. Sometime later, a friend told me that he saw the car on the back of a flatbed truck driving through town, leaving our house, off to its final resting place. I really wish I had more video of this automobile. We used to have a whole tape full of adventures that we had filmed while driving around in the car. But one night, we had a party at our house, and sadly, the tape was stolen. So now I only have a handful of short clips that I had previously dubbed onto other tapes. And that, my friends, is where my story ends. And now, in dedication to that beautiful machine, I'm going to open up this bottle of vodka and raise a toast to the AMC Hornet Sportabout wagon. Rest in peace, my dear friend. To the greatest car in the world. Yes! Maybe I'll make one more drink, you know, like in honor of the car.
Yeah, go for it.
So Derek, he's hanging out, and this is Derek, and he totally loves it. He's super, super into it. And he's living at the house. He's living at the house with us. Wait, it's fine.
Okay.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
You got it.
Yeah, I've got it. At our house. We're gonna have one for the Hornet Sportabout. Look at this! As I am filming this, we are currently in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown of 2020. I want to go out to the club and rage so bad, but I can't, so I've been reduced to watching videos of myself raging at the club. This is the level of pandemic patheticness I've reached.